Current plan is to be on mobile, both Android and iOS. We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
Okay, fine, I will do it too. It's time to go over Diablo Immortal. Almost 4 years of the anniversary of this famous quote, we have gotten the PC port for Diablo Immortal, way more players than expected, especially the ones that run in PC gaming communities got to play the game, so perhaps this is why you have been hearing way more comments about Diablo Immortal than if it was just a shitty random mobile game, and not many people would have bothered to just follow it or criticize it very heavily. So we have gotten the PC port. As a result, very likely of this, we have gotten way more judgments, let's just call them judgments, about the game, and I'm gonna have mine too. Why not? I have a few issues with the game. Let's start in order of magnitude. Let's just start with the smaller issues in Diablo Immortal. The smaller issue is that it's a simpler game than what you might have gotten used to with Diablo 3. This is not really an issue in itself because it is a mobile game. So fine, you can't expect perhaps the amount of complexity of Diablo 3. That being said, many people don't even consider Diablo 3 to be complex in the first place, but the game is missing hundreds of legendaries in comparison to Diablo 3. It's missing dozens and dozens of tier sets, class-specific tier sets. It's missing quite a few game-defining, game-changing runes. Of course, there are no runes for abilities, so the abilities you have are the ones you get. Perhaps they can get some modifiers based on the legendary you have, but not nearly as much as Diablo 3. So the game is quite more simple to play compared to the original, since this is clearly mobile copy of Diablo 3. But that's not too big of a deal, okay? That is still just perfectly fine. Let's rank up the problems and get into the port. This is something that perhaps might divide people a little bit more. The game has gotten a PC port, so it's no longer just a mobile game. This means that players go into the game version expecting it to be a PC port, and instead it's basically just a mobile game put into full screen. You have very poor optimization for PC. There is nothing about resolution. There are basically no graphic settings whatsoever. There are issues with controls. My mouse and my keyboard essentially gets stuck every other time I try to channel an ability. It remains stuck. I have to press it again to make me be able to press anything else in the first place. So you have, obviously, the UI is still very mobile game focused. It doesn't give you as much freedom to move around in the UI while being on PC. So it is also getting quite some flack because the port is essentially not a port. Now, it is true that since the announcement of Diablo Immortal, there was no plans to make it a PC port. And the idea that Diablo Immortal stayed on mobile was true for 3 years. For over 3 years, in fact. It was only on April the 25th that we got the announcement that Diablo Immortal would have come to PC. But even after coming to PC, of course, the game is still very, very, very bare bones in terms of the optimization for the platform. Obviously, some people try to try to dampen the complaints by pointing out this thing somewhere right there, which is the fact that this is a beta for PC. The release is official, full release for mobile, but this is still technically an open beta for PC. Which, it's kind of a half excuse, really. Of course, perhaps in the next few weeks we might be getting even more adjustments and quality of life changes for the PC platform, but for the moment it is definitely not up to standards of a PC port. I'm not even asking, for the moon here. I'm not even asking for some extremely good and sleek PC port, just some of the more default, the more bare bones features of a PC port that you would expect. That's the least I would ask for this version of the game, really. Then, of course, we have the biggest of the complaints, which is the fact that this is an obscene pay-to-win game and that you get to spend tons and tons of money about getting power, really, for your character. Now, let's take this easy for a moment, of course. There are plenty of opinions about the pay-to-win structures of games? When does the microtransaction for extra power, small power end, and when the straight up pay to win only way to become powerful and to become at the top becomes pay to win begins? The area there is kind of muddy, people might have different opinions. Definitely you can't have this type of opinion on Diablo Immortal. This is definitely a full-fledged game, very similar to any other gacha games that you have seen that require you to spend quite a lot of money to reach the higher end of performers, of performing characters. Now, what annoys me more though isn't the pay-to-win structure. I have no issue with the game being pay-to-win. Even though I can still complain that the PC port is terrible, I'm still happy overall that the game made it to PC. If this wasn't on PC, I would have never played it on mobile. I just don't play games on my mobile phone. So I got to try it at least on PC. It's fine for me. Even if it has microtransactions, very heavy microtransactions, I'm not too bothered, especially because many people talk about pay to win. Many people talk about the amount of money you have to spend to get your crest, to get your legendary gems, to become more powerful. We can also point out, to be fair, okay, to be perfectly fair, the level that you will need to reach before you can start getting blocked by this pay to win barrier of requiring more legendary crests to get more and more powerful and higher rank legendary gems is going to be quite high. It's going to require quite a decent amount of grinding by default, plus the content. If you try to run high-end rifts, it's still going to be challenging enough, which means a very large part of the player base won't really even reach the point where it starts to become pay to win. This is the equivalent of saying, for example, if you play WoW, that you can start buying items for real money in WoW, but only once you reach 3000 Mythic Plus rating. So yeah, it's pay to win, you have to buy items with real money to become more powerful, but that's only gonna affect 10% of their player base, so it's not actually affecting that large part of the population, which is what annoys me even more because of how it gets blasted in your face. Oh my god, the offers to buy stuff with real money is everywhere in this game. Now, I'm not that used to play pay-to-win, free-to-play, gacha, microtransaction heavy games, but still, this clearly cannot be the norm. Every time you do something, there is going to be a pop-up asking you if you want to know more, or if you want to get more, or if you want to buy more, and it's going to redirect you to the related shop window. Even after you finish a dungeon, a free-to-play dungeon with nothing spent, is gonna pop up a message to you in your codex or in your notes, in your messages, whatever, asking you if you want to buy an even better reward for this dungeon, which is also quite insulting, right? You just finish a dungeon, you get peanuts. You get peanuts for rewards, and then a pop-up comes out telling you, hey, if you spend $5, you can get the same amount of loot you could have gotten if you ran this dungeon 60 times over. It is a little bit predatory. It is a little bit asphyxiating, the amount of stuff that is going to be shoved in your face about buying stuff with real money. And this just piles on itself. It just never ends. You have the battle pass, you have the enhanced battle pass, you have the collector enhanced golden special battle pass. Then you have the boon of plenty, which is another thing you can buy to give you rewards every day. And then you can buy the prodigy's path, which is yet another system for $20 to get rewards every day or every few levels and whatnot. 10 legendary crests, which are what you need to put into your Elder Rift to give the rifts a chance to drop some gems, require 25 euros, even more than $25 just to get 10 of them. You buy 10 of them, you put just one in each Elder Rift, and after 10 Elder Rifts, which is approximately going to take you half an hour, 45 minutes, after that, your $25 is gone. You do just get the feeling that there is too much stuff open for purchase with real money. As I said, I don't have problems with being paid to win, or I don't have problems with requiring you, at the very least if you want to reach the top, to spend more. It's just that there are too many different things that require you to essentially spend money. Whether it is Platinum for the real money action house, which is by the way back. They got rid of it in Diablo 3, but it's still gonna be here in a different, more hidden way in Diablo Immortal. Whether it is the eternal orbs that you need to buy your quests, whether it is straight up buying other features like Scoria, which you need to upgrade your Heliquary. All these are going to be up for purchase from your microtransaction system in Diablo Immortal. So that's been my main complaint that I have seen in the game so far. Never mind the fact that it's simpler than Diablo 3, that's expected. Never even mind, I'm gonna even pass that, the fact that right now it's in a very terrible shape if you consider this, if you expected this to have a pretty good port for PC. It's unacceptable at the moment. Never mind all of that. Microtransactions are shoved way too much in your face, pretty much everywhere. Even if you didn't even show it to me, I might have even forgotten that this was pay to win. But the fact that it's everywhere, the fact that it pops up everywhere, every 3-4 different activities, there's going to be a pop-up suggesting you to buy some caches for 360, 400, 60% extra value. It gets tiring, it gets overbearing, this amount of obsessive requests to go to the shop and buy something. So that's been my main gripe with Diablo Immortal. Finishing the video with some good stuff though. I just railed on the game for a lot, so let's just say a handful of nice things about the game. This is by far the best mobile game I have ever seen. The most polished, the most clean in terms of even the story, the side quests, the general layout of the game. It's just pristine. It's made very, very well. Especially even other things like activities, right? As I said, this is much simpler of a game than Diablo 3, but the game has something like 20 more activities than Diablo 3. There is literally a crap ton of stuff that you can do in the game. Whether it is the challenge mode, the Elder Rifts, the raid bosses, the 8-man raid bosses, whether it is going in the open world to do bounties, world quests, daily quest type of activities, PvP battlegrounds. You can then also roleplay and LARP about being a shadow or an immortal, and be into that type of content with a ton more activities about that. You have the Path of Blood, which is yet another similar challenge mode type of activities. You have the Raid the Vault game, which requires a raid with other people to be in, and then the Rite of Exile and the Shadow War, which are the pinnacle of this game's roleplay faction war between the Immortal faction and the Shadow faction. So it is extremely good in terms of activities, in terms of variety, in terms of things you can do. It's also extremely good in the mobility, so to speak, in the traveling. Besides the auto navigation, which is a classic of mobile games to let you go just stop whenever you're at the place you want to be, but also the quickness, the speed in which you can travel around all different sorts of activities you want to go to very, very fast. It speeds up the amount of time you have to wait or the amount of time you have to travel to be immediately in the content, which is also very good. So it does have, unfortunately, it does have a very good skeleton, a very good architecture when it comes to the game, the features within the game, the activities within the game. However, as I said, besides the lack of a perfectly optimized PC port, which this one being an open beta, I hope is going to get a little bit better. Besides that, at the moment, the microtransaction is a little bit too oppressive and a little bit too overbearing and overarching throughout the entirety of the game. I don't even mind the fact that it's pay to win or very heavily on microtransactions itself. I mind the fact that it gets into my space, into my screen way too often when I'm playing the game. So this has been my main complaint for this game. Even then, as I repeat, I still think it's an excellent mobile game and an excellent free-to-play game if you don't mind, if you don't bother with pushing to the max, to the end game maximum competitiveness level. It is definitely a great game. Then again, if you think this is great, you should probably go back and try Diablo 3 if you have never tried it, because it's still definitely better than this one as a PC game. But still, it's a nice game at the moment, tainted by a little bit too much of a focus, a predatory focus on highlighting their microtransaction features. That's my overall take on Diablo Immortal. So, With this being said, we can now leave each other to the rest of the week, because today is Monday, it's the start of a new week. I took you all by surprise by coming out with a Diablo Immortal video to start this week. Thank you guys again for watching the video and for helping to support this channel, which can be done in multiple ways, as YouTube teaches us. Also includes liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to the channel. This one being a Diablo Immortal themed video, I'm gonna let everyone who tried out Diablo Immortal already subscribe to the channel. Also, I am found on Twitter somewhere around this direction, and you can also support me on Patreon down in this direction, which will also give you access to my Discord channel for you to join and start some meaningful discussion in there. Thank you guys again, see you guys soon, and in the meantime, no, but for real, the PC port is something else, man. It's like playing on a mobile game full screened on a 2K monitor is just, oh god.